Well, the Florida Gators lost 34-20 to the Georgia Bulldogs. In a game where honestly I don't know how I feel about it. I'm genuinely just I don't know how to feel about it. We'll talk about it here on Locked On Gators.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day, we are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. I am Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with New York Giants on SI.com. And yeah, the Florida Gators lost to the Georgia Bulldogs 34-20. And the thing is, I honestly, I don't know how to feel about it. I don't. I'm just going to be honest with you, because you were winning and playing lights out until DJ Lagway, or playing lights out defensively, until DJ Lagway got injured and likely going to miss the remainder of the season. Billy Napier at halftime said that the injury was significant. And I'm just trying to be open and honest with you. And I don't know where that lands anything. And I'm not going to bother talking about the Billy Napier job stuff. I know a lot of the comments in the chat are right now saying Billy's gone, Billy's this, Billy's that. I don't know anything about it right now. I don't know how Billy Napier's job status is locked up right now, if it matters about winning against Texas or anything. But what we do know is that DJ Lagway is injured, and this was a team that, while it was, it was what, 10-3 when he got injured. You could argue like, hey, and again, this is going to be a thing that people are going to talk about, where they're going to say, hey, you were beating Georgia when DJ Lagway got injured. And you were in it with Georgia the entirety of the time, even after DJ Lagway got injured. It was tough. I think that the defense played lights out, and it was just a phenomenal showing for the Florida Gators defense. I understand that there's a lot of people that will feel certain ways about certain things, but you held Georgia to 34 points, despite you having, 8, 9 3-and-outs, despite you throwing a pick, despite you just not being able to sustain any offensive drives. You held Georgia to 34. You forced Carson Beck to throw 3 interceptions, with just great coverage. It was crazy. It was a great defensive game. And I'm sorry that I don't have this ton to go. I'm not going to go cursing anybody out. I'm not going to go saying anything about Billy's horrendous anything. I'm not. I just can't do it. Because the fact remains that for the majority of this game, Florida's defense looked really good. And it was a thing where I sent a message to the insiders, which the link's in the description below if you want to be a Locked On Gators insider. But it was just struck. Someone just said, like you just said, our defense was still showing out. Could we have rattled Carson Beck to make another pick or another pick 6? I'm not going to complain about anything with the defense, really. It was a game, though, where you can tell once DJ Lagway got injured, your offense was not going to be able to move the ball consistently against this Georgia defense. And the writing was kind of on the wall that, hey, this one's not going to go in Florida's favor more likely than not. You ended up tying the game with under 5 minutes left was when that Jacoby Jackson rushing touchdown happened. That play was with Yeah, 5 minutes left, 7 minutes left, and then you gave up the score. It was I'll say that. Honestly, one of the first losses that wasn't on Billy. I feel like I have to agree, right? It's not, and I'm not giving Billy excuses. I think many people know where I stand with Billy, and I don't think that this game has changed anything about that. It's just not one of the games I could fault him too much for, right? It's not Billy's fault that DJ Lagway, I'm assuming, tore his hamstring. Billy said that it was a significant injury. So when I hear significant injury from Billy, I assume he tore his hamstring. It's not Billy's fault that who got injured in the secondary today, whether or not they came back. Devin Moore, Jordan Castell, Dijon Johnson, Sharif Denson. It got so bad injury-wise that Triquez Bridges, who's a starting safety and was a corner at Oregon, was playing corner for Florida tonight. Like, the second half was largely with Cormani McLean and Triquez Bridges at corner. And Cormani McLean, look, like, I know I had someone message me, Cormani got burned. Cormani got toasted. Yeah, he did. He's a depth corner going up against Georgia receivers who are pretty damn talented right now. So, yeah, that happens. The botched snap, or if you want to call it botched, I don't know if that's the word you'd like to use, but I see someone used botched. I'll just call bad. It said the bad snap on the field goal that would have given you the lead gave Georgia good field position, and it was rough. And you're likely going to be rolling with Aiden Warner, the Yale redshirt freshman, for the remainder of the season. And paired with that is that the offense needs to be better, whether it's him or not. And also, I will say, for some of the injuries that happened, they happened partially because, hey, Florida couldn't sustain offensive drives. Their defense had to keep coming out, and once an injury piled up in the secondary specifically, it just kept happening. It was rough. The field was horrendous. I keep seeing people mention that. I'm not blaming the field for a loss. I will blame the field for some of the injuries, but that field was just horrendous. And now we're at the point where we say, hey, Florida's 4-4. Maybe going to win one more game. I think with DJ Lagway, it was always, hey, you can maybe scrape up a couple. But with Aiden Warner, maybe going to win another game. He is clearly very... What's one of the phrases that you can use for inexperience? Wet behind the ears? Is that one? Very green, we can say. It was just brutal. He's gonna look pretty rough probably when you face these defenses. I'd expect them to blitz a lot and try to make him make a play. He made some mistakes. He made some plays, but he made some mistakes. I also don't think that the tripping call should have been on him. It's whatever. And yeah, we can talk about, and I know people will talk about, and we will talk about Billy Napier's job security and all that. It's just not stuff that I feel like needs to be discussed today. And I'm not at all saying moral victory or anything like that. It's just, for me personally, it's hard for me to talk about it. I know people keep asking about Clay Millen. Clay Millen is Aiden Warner's backup. That's what I can say for Clay Millen. I know that a lot of people keep going, oh, bring up Clay Millen, bring in Clay Millen, Why isn't Clay Millen? Because he's the backup. He's the backup's backup. He's the backup's backup. That's where we're at with that one. I do think that one critique I will give for the offensive coaching staff is that your run game was working pretty decently at times, and there were some times, and I get you want to avoid being one-dimensional. But I do think that your run game is working pretty decently at times, and they got away from it at certain points. It's obviously not going to be an easy season, but again, it's just, I personally have a hard time going out there and saying this is, again, I still think Billy should go, but I have a hard time saying this game is an example of that. The team was winning when DJ Lagway went out. It's hard for me to fault Billy specifically for things like that. Defense played lights out. The team played hard throughout, which I know a lot of people are going to say, who cares about playing hard if you lose? I think it matters. I do think it matters when we talk about this, and this was easily the best that the Florida Gators team has looked against Georgia under Billy Napier, which you could argue isn't saying much. But it's just tough. And I know people, I see someone saying, Georgia had people out as well. I don't think anybody has had as many injuries as Florida had in one game pile up at the point that they did. It's really rough. It sucks that, you came back from a bye and in theory you go, oh, well, the bye week is when you get healthy, and then you come out and you play the rest of the season. And in the first game after the bye is when everybody gets hurt. I'll be very interested to see what happens with anybody. I'm going to assume that DJ Lagway is out for the season, just because Billy Napier was one said it's a significant injury. He came out with crutches. Devin Moore got injured. I don't even know when it happened, but he came out at halftime with crutches. Moral victory talk coming. I don't know who you're talking about with that. I'm not saying moral victory. He lost the game. It's just I don't think this is a good example to go, hey, Billy's not the guy. I don't. And again, I'm not defending him in any way, shape, or form. I just think that this game's a really bad example of why you should fire him. I don't think that he's the guy. I think that maybe you have a conversation about, well, maybe upper administration, who I've said before, I think are spineless losers, and I think aren't willing to make tough calls. I could very realistically see a chance where they say, hey, keep him because he had this team fighting despite everything. I could see that. Jeffrey Doherty said, I get we're losing, but how can't recruits see the way we played against Tennessee and Georgia and buy in? Honestly, I think it's because so many people know that Billy's coaching with his back up against the wall, which, again, thank you very much, Jeffrey Doherty, for the super chat there. But I think it's that people know, hey, Billy is coaching for his job week in and week out, and why would I want to commit myself to playing for him? Because, again, I know a lot of people talk about, hey, like, but it's the media saying this. Like, I know people come to me and they say, hey, you're talking bad, and that's what's changing things. My stance has been and always will be, it doesn't matter what I say in terms of if a recruit's coming here or not. It doesn't matter if I talk about Billy Napier could or should be fired. The realistic fact of the matter is that last year when I wasn't talking about it, Jameer Grimsley was out here saying, well, I picked Alabama because of coaching stability. I don't know if Billy Napier is going to be there. And I wasn't talking about fire Billy, was I? No. So it's not what media is doing. It's that the fact of the matter is that Billy Napier's job is on the line week in, week out. You could argue about the recruiting staff or the recruiting class if it's going to stay together, if it's about money, like people mentioned. I think that there's a lot of factors into it. But at the same time, you go, hey, well, why would I commit to Florida, who's playing tough and losing to Tennessee and Georgia, when I can go play for those teams who, despite their opponent playing great football, still beating them? And I think that matters as well. Oh, my God. Ray Graves, GOAT, said, love the effort. Love the show. Quad God played QB in high school. I'm just saying, first off, thank you very much, Ray Graves, GOAT. You are my GOAT. Big super chat there. Love you. But yeah, let's see. I will ask Hayden if he wants if he's pitching for playing time in the backfield here, playing QB. Obviously it's not going to happen, but yeah, 7 for 22 for Aiden Warner is not exactly awe-inspiring or very confidence-inspiring. I do think that it was tough for him to play well with all, again, the Georgia pass rush just coming after him and it being very clear that, hey, we're going to start throwing the football here. But man, things need to clean up. And hopefully with a week as the starter or a week of practice as the starter, we see things change. I'd like to see him. First off, I didn't think that the zone reads with him were very effective, which I do think he can move a bit. It wasn't working, which sucks. But this offense needs to figure out some things. And we can say, hey, Jaden Baugh did some Wildcat stuff in high school. You can say that about basically a lot of great athletes end up quarterbacking at high school levels. Man, I don't know. This is going to be tough. We're going to hit our break and then we'll come back to it and we'll hit everybody. I see we got another super chat. We will get to that in a second, but we need to hit this break before this becomes a 40-minute show again, which maybe we'll talk about the rest of this game next on Locked On Gators. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role, and that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free, and LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals that you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but there is a setting on LinkedIn where you can say, hey, I'm not actively searching for a new job, but if one opens, I might be interested in that. So just saying. LinkedIn also finds ways to make the process even easier if you're looking to hire. That they launched a new feature that helps you write job descriptions. So just gets a little bit quicker. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Yay. Okay. You gotta love live recording, right? We misclicked the button there. It's really fun. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. I got a super chat here from in all kinds of weather. It's year 3 playing hard and still taking L's, so it doesn't matter. He's a loser. He has a losing record in almost every category. Fire him. I don't think that you could argue that. Again, I don't think you can argue that. I think that's a very strong point. And again, I stand where I stand on Billy, where I don't think he's the guy. I don't think he's the answer. And I do think that it's time to let him go. I just don't think that this game is a good example of it. Not even because they played hard. Not even because, hey, they kept it close. But because you lost your starting quarterback in a game where you were winning with your starting quarterback. Like at the time he got hurt, you were leading in this game. You looked like you had momentum. Your defense was playing lights out when they weren't having to come right back on the field multiple times. That's all it is for me. I don't disagree with anything. I'm not changing my mind on anything. I just think this game's a bad example of that. The fact that you had to have Aiden Warner, a redshirt freshman transfer from Yale, come in, a redshirt freshman walk-on transfer from Yale, come in and throw 22 passes against Georgia. It's just tough for me to use this game as an example. I've said there's games on this schedule where Billy can prove me wrong. I don't think you can look at Texas next week and go, oh, well, we'll chalk it because they played tough. Now you've got the week to prepare with your QB. And I'm not saying that that's an ideal time, but you've got the week to prepare with your QB. So that game will be a much better judge of what this offense looks like with Aiden Warner, how this offense will perform for the rest of the year. It's tough. It's obviously, again, it's not a fun thing to deal with. And I hate talking about, oh, well, this guy should be fired. I don't think this game's a good example of why he should be fired. It's as simple as that. I got another super chat from Zaire says, which thank you very much. I don't know what you guys are. Florida keeps it close to Georgia, and the wallets open up there. This is poor coaching once again. Why are we calling plays for DJ to run that many designed RPOs? 5 and 7, where they currently ranked 50th recruiting class as a fireable offense alone. I think that you could say 5 and 7, which, by the way, not guaranteed. We have no idea what Aiden Warner is going to look like with or as a starter. We have no idea what that's going to look like against Texas next week, Ole Miss, LSU, even Florida State. There's no guarantee that this team gets more than 4 wins. And like you said, where they currently ranked 50th recruiting class, fireable offense alone, I don't disagree. Again, I don't disagree. I will say I don't necessarily agree with the why are we calling plays for DJ to run RPOs, because I do think part of that is slide. I've said before, I hate the way DJ runs sometimes. And I sent a message to the Insider program, which again, links in the description below if you want to join. But I sent a message to that group where I said, hey, I hate how DJ Lagway runs. Why are you running left to right? You're 6'3", 240. Get downhill or slide. But like, stop trying to run left to right. You're not Anthony Richardson. You're not Lamar Jackson. You are DJ Lagway. You are better running north-south. Get north-south. Eddie in here saying things that I won't repeat, but I love you. I appreciate you. Don't what? Oh, hold on. I need to know what the "don't do this" Brandon is, because again, I'm not saying to not fire him. I just don't think this game is the good example for that. And I see you mentioned, a minute 30 left in the first half with 2 timeouts. I will go back to this drive right now. I'll pull up the ESPN play-by-play here before the half, because I do think it's relevant to mention, right? You get the ball back with 136, run the ball, which I don't have that much of an issue with. Again, I said going into that, hey, getting into the half with the lead is huge here. And that you need to prioritize that. Run the ball. Georgia starts calling timeouts. Chimdike catches the screen that Elijah Badger screwed completely. That's 100% on Elijah Badger. Elijah Badger did not do his job as a receiver of blocking, and I know a lot of people bring up, like I think that's the thing that's often overlooked, right? And I do think that's generally one thing that Billy Gonzalez receivers do well, is block specifically on screens. Elijah Badger didn't even put an effort in. He was looking to the inside there. I don't know what it was. You end up punting. Georgia kicks a field goal. You get the ball back with 34 seconds left, and Georgia has no timeouts. You end up kicking a field goal there, but I will stand firm that I think you should have taken a shot. I think you should have tried to throw a bomb early on, and if you end up not converting things, then you just go into the half with the lead. But again, field goal I'm not going to complain about, but would have liked you to be a bit more aggressive there as always, which, yeah, is always going to be a thing. What's up, Adam? Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you. South Carolina is currently beating Texas A&M 7-0. Again, this is just a game where I have not changed my opinion on Billy. I don't think that this is a great game to say, hey, it should have happened. I don't think this is a great game to say, hey, this is why you fire him in this game. I think that you can still look at the entirety of his resume and have that conversation and feel way more confident about that and have way better examples. But yeah, it's just, I wish I could curse on this show. This was just an S word. That's what we're doing. This is just an S word game. Because yeah, again, I have not changed my stance on it. It's a crappy game. It's going to be a crappy rest of this. Like, buckle up. That's all I could tell you. Buckle up, because next week you have to go to Texas with Aiden Warner making his first career start. I don't know in any way, shape, or form that ends well. The defense, again, I mean, you held Georgia to 6 points at the half. That's impressive. You forced Carson Beck to throw 3 picks. Jack Pyburn got one of them, which I'm still going to complain about him being in coverage. That was a lucky pick there. Great time, great place, whatever it is. But that was just, it was a great game, right? And I know that, like, I see someone talking about Cormani. Cormani had that play in the red zone where he tipped the ball. My issue with that isn't with Cormani at all. My issue there is, I don't know why Triquez Bridges was still looking to play the man when I feel like he had a path to take a pick or to get a pick there, which I'm not really faulting Triquez for it too much. I understand, you think of it as, well, I can go for the pick, but if I don't get the pick and I don't play the man, he's scoring. And so I respect it there. I was interested to see when Florida on that goal line drive or on that goal line stand had Des Watson, Cam Jackson, and Mekhi Boyroe all on the field on the interior there. And then Georgia just ran a pitch out wide. But that's one of those plays where, like, when you put that mass in the middle of the defensive line, you expect a wide play. So that was more on the linebackers and secondary for not making the stop there. Man, I will say this again, like Cormani, I think he played decently, but even if he didn't, he's what? the 5th corner on the team when everyone's healthy. It's hard for me to go, oh, the 5th corner needs to be playing better than that week in and week out, game in, snap count, snap in, snap out. It's tough for me. I do think that, again, this was a game where you had missed opportunities in the first half, but it was just rough. Do we know Billy called the play DJ was hurt on? We don't know anything about anybody calling any plays at any time. That's the fun of a Billy Napier-led team. Yeah, I don't know why anybody would celebrate DJ Lagway's injury with anything. We're going to lose to Texas and Ole Miss and LSU. It's over for us. Fire Napier, rebuild the program. Not arguing with you there. Yep, not arguing with you there at all. D'Anterio, the field hurt Lagway and many others. Don't be surprised if I don't know about all that. I don't know if you're allowed to do that, but yeah. Why did Bridges leave Oregon? He wanted to come play safety. He was a depth corner So Triquez Bridges in high school was a safety. Went to Oregon, moved to corner. Wanted to move back to safety, and so he hit the portal. Played in a defense similar to what Florida runs, so he came to Florida where he could play safety. Was playing pretty well at safety, but because of all the injuries, he had to go back to corner. And that's where that winds up. I'm curious because I do believe that this is operated by the SEC travel rules. So I'm curious if Teddy Foster and Jameer Grimsley were even there, or if they didn't travel with the team because of the red shirt stuff, as in they're planning on redshirting. So I'm not sure what the plan will be long term. I would hope that we see Triquez Bridges back at safety, where again, I think he was playing really well. And then you see Teddy or Jameer Grimsley come in at corner, see how things work out there. Hopefully, you don't have to worry about that at all. Hopefully, you get at least one of your corners back. Hopefully, Dijon Johnson will be available. Devin Moore being on crutches doesn't make me feel optimistic that we'll see him again, at least next week. Do we take a chance on keeping Napier because Lagway may leave? No. No. I don't care how good a quarterback is. I stand firm. I don't care how good a player at any position is. I stand pretty firm that you don't keep a coach to keep a player. I just don't. Especially if you're going, hey, we need to fire this coach, and one of your biggest reasons for keeping him is, oh, but then we lose the QB. I think that's a bad reason. Maybe you could argue if you've got a really good recruiting class, but usually really good recruiting classes don't go with coaches that are potentially getting fired. So I think that I don't think that you keep Napier to keep Lagway. I think that if you fire Napier and you get a coach that Lagway would play for, that's different. I do think that if you do fire Napier, you do it and you have your plan already, which they should have their plan already, considering how long there's been the fire Napier rumors. And so you try to make that hire quickly to retain as much of your roster as you possibly can with a coach that you can sell. And that's kind of been why I've been saying, hey, fire Napier early so that you can keep the roster intact. You can have a replacement, tell the kids what it is, even if it's not public. But yeah, I don't think you keep anybody for any player. I just don't think that's a good thing to do. South Carolina is now up 14-0 over Texas A&M. Big there. But yeah, every day is a good day to fire Silly Billy. It's a different story if DJ doesn't get hurt. Yeah, probably a different story if DJ doesn't get hurt. But he did, and that's football. A lot of talent on this team, absolutely. Love the talent on this team. Ton of talent throughout, especially defensive side. I think we've seen a lot of progress. But again, you have to win games. And I'm also interested, I feel like keeping Napier at this point, which again, I'm not trying to harp on it. I'm not going to get too much into it, but I feel like keeping Napier at this point feels like even if he keeps his job, then everyone will know, hey, he kept his job by the skin of his teeth. And we see how bad the recruiting class is right now. I don't think that next year would all of a sudden be better, right? I feel like let's say you keep him, you lock in a top 50 class or whatever it is. Then I feel like 2026 class, you're going to have trouble getting commits because, again, it's just going to be, well, he's probably going to get fired, so why would I commit? That's at least how I shape it up, or at least that's how I shape it in my mind. It's tough. It's honestly, I don't think there's a good answer to anything. Even with replacing him with any of the candidates that get thrown out, I don't think there's a good answer for any of it. But thank you all so much. It will never cease to amaze me that at one point we had 300 people in here. And now, I mean, yeah, if he keeps his job, we're broke. Might be broke anyway, Eddie. Might be broke anyway. Just saying. Just throwing that one out there. You know, and I know. But thank you so much for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Again, like I said, will never cease to amaze me that we can get hundreds of people in here at a time. Will never cease to amaze me that I get the opportunity to talk about our Florida Gators for a living. It's incredible. For someone said, why won't he just hire an OC? Because he is stubborn, as many college coaches are, or many football coaches are usually stubborn. A lot of them don't like to give up that control. So thank you all so much for tuning in and supporting for Locked On Gators. I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work in New York Giants on SI, and I'll see you all next time.